Welcome to the offseason edition of the Dawg Talk podcast. I am Matt Glenesk. I am with Butler, Indy Stars Butler insider Akeem Glaspie. And Akeem, in college basketball, there is no offseason. It's go, go, go. Thought we were going to have a little bit of a break, but no. Thad Matta has to rebuild his roster all over again. So we've got, three transfers out. Turnbull, Alexander, Davis. You've got Jalen Thomas moving on. We don't know what's happening with Jamil Telfort. So, again, you've got to rebuild the whole roster again. How's it going so far?
Yeah, and Posh Alexander as well. He's kind of the key piece that makes it all go because you need a point guard, especially in the Big East. So, yeah, they lost a lot of firepower. And if they lose Jamil Telfort, that would kind of be the final blow in a really tough offseason. They're, losing all five starters. Or force 4 or 5 starters with Pierre Brooks coming back. That's not ideal, no matter how strong your team was. Even if Butler did, exceed expectations, they'll kind of be starting from ground zero again, heading into next year. But yeah, the transfers that they had come in, Kobe King, Patrick McCaffrey, and Jamie Kaiser Jr. I mean, yes, it's all in theory. They're great players, but it's kind of hard to strike lightning or catch lightning in the bottle 2 times. That you can have a bunch of new players come in, everyone gets along, everyone enjoys each other, then the chemistry is just strong from day one. Because there was a reason why Butler was picked to finish second to last in the Big East, because it is rare that all these things can come together and a team have a successful season. So for them to be in the same place this year, it's definitely a tough pill to swallow, I would say, if I was a Butler basketball fan.
Yeah, the Poch Alexander one, like you mentioned, that hurts a lot because he is your point guard. He was your senior leader. He was your best perimeter defender too. He set the tone for what you did. And there's no heir apparent on this roster to play point guard. Landon Moore, more of a combo guard, not really a point guard. Finley Bizjack, definitely not a point guard. Though him deciding to come back to Butler after entering the transfer portal can be seen as a win. He was an all Big East freshman selection, so he showed enough, definitely a lot of offensive ability there. So I think that's a piece you can work with, but not a point guard. You mentioned Kobe King coming in from Tulane. I know he's 6'2". He's not a point guard. He's more comfortable as the off guard. He averaged 1.8 assists last year. Only had a few games with multiple assists. One of them was against Dillard, which might be a high school team. If you're from South Florida, you know what I mean. But yeah, so not, and I think he only had 15 more assists than turnovers. So not a point guard. Again, we said Landon Moore, not a point guard. So you've got, if Jamil Telfort stays in the portal or goes pro, or I don't even think he's in the portal. He's just declared for the draft, correct? Is that our understanding?
While maintaining his eligibility. Posh did the same thing, and then after the fact, he entered the portal.
Yeah, and the portal closes midnight tonight, actually, May 1st. So if Telfort was going to go in the portal, it has to be today. So it's either, if he doesn't, it's either Butler or go get paid professional money to go play basketball, because they're all getting paid nowadays in college anyway. So I can't go get paid to play basketball. But if he goes, you have three scholarships left to play with. Where would you, if you were Thad Matta, where would you add to this team?
I'd say point guard and center has to be the top, your top priorities. And I mean, how many 6'11", 7-foot people are walking this earth anyway? So I mean, I would imagine they're scouring every level of basketball to try to find a big man, and it's just easier said than done. And then again, to find a point guard, a true playmaker, a floor general, that's kind of a lost art in and of itself. Most players want to be combo guards. Everyone wants to play like Steph Curry and shoot, and there's not really that floor general type like the Posh Alexanders. Again, those guys are really hard to find. So if I had to choose two of their 2 biggest needs, might be the 2 hardest things to find in modern college basketball. So that's not a great place to be in.
Do you think if they don't get their center, do you think Andre Screen is up to the task of being a starter in the Big East with Bowden Kapke as his primary backup? Is that good enough for Butler?
Yes, I would say it's good enough. Andre Screen showed in small sample sizes and small spurts that he can be a very efficient offensive player. I mean, he has some limitations in terms of mobility on defense, but he's a 7-foot person. He can protect the rim, in theory and practice at times. So yes, you don't want him playing 30 minutes a game, but between 20 to 25 minutes, he's a serviceable Big Ten starting center. And Bowden will need to take another step, get a little stronger to kind of handle more of the interior kind of banging around that he'd have to do. But then you'd still need another body, because then maybe Augusto Cassia is your other option at the 5, which I mean is great if you want to go small, but if against a UConn, I don't know how well that would work, because considering all the big bodies that they traditionally have. So yeah, I mean, again, it's being in the Big East. It's not forgiving to teams with like a roster, kind of a glaring hole in their roster, and Butler needs to do what's best to fill those up.
Yeah, I mean, if Telford doesn't come back, your starting 4 or your 4 duo is most likely going to be Cassia and Patrick McCaffrey. And McCaffrey's played a lot of basketball at Iowa, obviously playing for his dad, played 4 years there, maybe even played 5 years or 5 seasons. But he's got experience, whereas Cassia has got all the physical tools you want, just doesn't have the experience. He battled injury at the start of last season, didn't really get off the ground. We saw little glimpses of him, and what you saw, you were like, this is a piece to work with. Him sticking around says good things about that, at least, that he believes that Thad Matta and his staff can develop him into being a big contributor. So I think, I mean, as is, you're looking at Screen Capke split in the 5, Cassia McCaffrey split in the 4, and then Brooks is your starting 3, right? That's nailed down. No one's arguing that. With Kaiser and Bizjack right now, maybe as your 2.
Or you could move Pierre to the 4, play Kaiser at
I mean, that's a small line. That is small ball. If you're playing Pierre at the 4 and Kaiser at the 3, I mean, Kaiser at 6'6" as a 3 is fine. But he's a perimeter player. He only wants to shoot threes. I mean,
as Pierre too. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, 70% of Kaiser's shots last year were from behind the arc. He came in as a highly touted freshman to Maryland from the area, but he just wants to shoot threes. But Pierre's got like an off the dribble game where he can drive, he can use his body. Didn't have to do it as much last year when you can just say Telfort, bully ball your way to the hoop, that kind of thing. So their offense will change if they don't have Telfort. It'll be, and if they don't have, when they won't have Posh. So it's going to be Pierre with the ball a lot, I would imagine. But I think, Kaiser is his backup, maybe 6'6". But then again, you're looking at the 2 guard, and it's Kobe King, Bizjack, Landon Moore, Evan Haywood, the freshman from Brebeuf. I don't know how much you expect from him as a freshman, but I would have said the same thing about Jaden Taylor coming out of Perry Meridian a few years ago, and he had a great freshman season. So sometimes you just don't know. Maybe they have a big summer, they get bigger, and they just, hey, offense plays sometimes too. If you can make a basket, you're going to get some playing time. So I mean, are you confident with that team going in? Like your 2 and your 1 it's concerning, right?
I mean, I would imagine Finley would probably slide into that starting 2 spot. I mean,
you think he's a starter? You think he's a starter too? Okay.
Yes, him and Landon were the first 2 players off the bench, so I would imagine they'd be first in line at the 1 and 2. Again, unless another transfer comes in, we don't know how that's going to shake out. But confident. I mean, Dad's done it before. I mean, right? He's won. He's always been a winner. He's known for building winning programs. It's just, how many times can you keep hitting the reset button and having it, come out in your favor?
I think that's college basketball now, right? I mean, you look at IU. They hit the reset button too. They had 7 open scholarships this year when they had so many last year. It's just the nature of the game. And you've mentioned how NIL plays a role in this, and Butler is not a big NIL player. I talked with the outgoing AD Barry Collier about it last year. They just have limitations. They're a smaller school. Yes, they're a private school, but they have a smaller alumni base. Don't really have a huge sugar daddy like Creighton with Warren Buffett, who can help pour money into it. And you're not getting football money. You're not being able to pull from a division or an FBS football program to help fund that NIL. So where do you see Butler at? Like, I would imagine they're probably in the bottom 3rd when it comes to NIL resources in the conference.
Yeah, I mean, again, that makes Butler a stepping stone. As you can see, like DJ Davis, he leaves for Washington after a great year. Posh is gone probably to another similar size or bigger program. It's going to be hard to compete in the Big East, with Butler's resources, and they have a new AD. So I'm actually going to talk to him today. Hope we can find out, what their plans are moving forward and how they can remain competitive. Because it a lot of times it does come down to money. I mean, I feel like on the basketball side, I'd want to play for Coach Mata. He's known to develop great point guards, and their system under Coach Barlow is pretty advantageous for players to score and showcase their offensive skills. But at the end of the day, money talks. So if Butler can't compete financially, it's going to be a revolving door. I don't know. Are the days of the 4-year player, is that gone? I don't know. Or
Yeah, I think it is.
Yeah, that's a sad state of affairs. Or you just have to get the guys that don't really need the money or don't care about the money, and I guess that can limit the person you're looking for. Because at the end of the day, if I'm looking around and all my teammates are getting paid, $75,000, even if I'm a starter, I might be a little salty, So at the end of the day, money talks, and Butler's going to have to kind of change some things if they want to remain competitive.
Yeah, I mean, and their earning window is so small, anyways, in terms of a playing career. And some of these guys aren't going to play professional basketball over, whether it's here, the G League, NBA, or overseas. So this is their opportunity to make some money, before they go off into the real world, if they go be an accountant or sell real estate or whatever it is they do. But I don't blame any kid for wanting to go better themselves. Again, if someone offers me 3 times what I'm making to go move and do a new job, more than likely I'm saying, honey, pack up the kids, we're moving. So I get all that. Though I do love Indianapolis. So if Indy wants to offer me 3 times my salary, I'll happily stay as well. But yeah, so let's talk about some of the new guys. So we've got 3 new players, 3 new transfers coming in. Let's start with Patrick McCaffrey. You talked with Patrick after his decision to leave Iowa and come here for his final season. Obviously, there's a comfort zone for him here. He's got his older brother, Connor, works for the Pacers. Caitlin Clark, also, who was dating his older brother, big part of the family. She was one of the first people to respond to his Instagram post that he's coming to Butler. I think she said Indy takeover. So he's got a support system here. And I think he's an adult in the room for the program. For Thad Matta, he is an adult in that locker room. He has seen it all, and he's going to be helpful. I mean, he's 6'9", so he's not like a great rebounder, but he can get rebounds. So you talked to him. What was the reason that Butler was his destination?
Yeah, I mean, Coach Mata and the coaching staff, Coach Joseph, the relationship that they built not only with Patrick, but with Patrick's younger brother. They're also recruiting him. He's a 4-star guard out of Iowa. So that kind of allowed them to build a relationship and just kind of in passing. And, Patrick said Butler checks all the boxes and what he's looking for in terms of a basketball program. And you mentioned he's an older guy. I believe he's 23, 24 years old. He just brings a maturity level on and off the court. Patrick's been open about, battling anxiety, and he's a cancer survivor. So he's kind of seen it all and done it all. So he'll just bring a maturity and a stability to the lineup that you need, especially when you're bringing in a bunch of new players. And then on the court, he's a versatile forward. He can kind of do it all: play, make, rebound, shoot. So, I mean, if he sounds kind of like a good Jamil Telfort replacement, if that comes down to it. So if you can get that type of production, that maybe Butler won't be in such a bad spot after all. But again, it's asking a lot of Patrick. He dealt with an ankle injury. He told me he's feeling good. He's healthy. All that stuff is behind him. But, again, do you want him playing 32 minutes, 35 minutes a night? I'm not sure. But he definitely seems up to the task. And, he can definitely bring a lot to the team.
Yeah, I'm not sure I'm buying the Telfort replacement. Well, I'm hoping for Butler's sake he's not the Telfort replacement in terms of how they run their offense. Like, so much ran through Telfort last year. They needed a bucket. The ball was in Telfort's hand, whether at the top of the key or backing in. Like, he was, option A for the most part. Yes, Pierre Brooks was the leading scorer, did a lot of great things, but they ran it through Telfort for most of the time. So I don't think you're going to see that with McCaffrey. But like you said, he knows how to move the ball. He's a competent shooter, not a prolific shooter, but he can stretch the floor a little bit. It's a good addition. Like, if Telfort were to come back, Telfort's your starting 4. Having McCaffrey as a flex piece, in the front court, I think is preferred as opposed to having him forced to start. But again, you got to go with what you have. And
Mhm.
if he's forced to start, there are worse options than having a 5-year player who's basically, as you said, has seen it all. All right, let's go to Jamie Kaiser. When he committed, I told you I'm getting Pierre Brooks vibes from this. This is a guy who was from the Maryland area, from the DMV, highly touted recruit, goes to the home school, doesn't really hit it off, just like Pierre Brooks was Mr. Basketball, went to Michigan State. He spent a few years at Michigan State, but didn't really take off, got away from home, given an opportunity, and flourished. I'm guessing Thad Matta is hoping the same happens here with Jamie Kaiser. Highly ranked recruit, known as being a shooter, good size. So why not take a shot, right?
Yeah, I mean, you just have to hope that Kaiser can, again, similar to Pierre, can live up to his recruiting reputation. I mean, he played at IMG, one of the best, sports powerhouses in the nation. He moved there from Virginia, but his shooting numbers were down, and that's one thing you don't want is a shooter with poor shooting percentages. So hopefully, again, with Coach Barlow's system, they can create. If he's in the DJ Davis role, then he'll have a lot of opportunities to showcase his shooting ability. DJ had the ultimate green light from wherever he wanted to, and Jamie Kaiser seems someone who has that similar shooting ability. I'm not sure if he has DJ's range. I mean, you would imagine he would with just his size, right? That he has, kind of the strength and the core strength to shoot from anywhere. So yeah, if that's the replacement, like I said, if Patrick is your Jamil replacement, then Jamie is your DJ replacement, and you're getting more size, which will help on the defensive end, because that's one place where DJ was a liability is defense. So yeah, but again, I don't know if you probably won't replace DJ shooting, to be fair, but Jamie has the reputation, and he just hasn't produced at that level yet. I believe he shot around 20% from three, which
27%.
is
Yeah,
which is
27%.
not you're going to need that. You want to add 10 percentage points to that with the numbers that you're hoping he produces. So again, on paper, it seems like a good fit, a good transition, but hopefully he can come in and show what he can do.
Again, was just a freshman last year. Did hit multiple threes 8 times last year for the Terrapins. So it's some sort of silver lining there. And again, players from the freshman year to sophomore year make big jumps. If they're in the same system, you move them out. There's going to be some adjustment time, but still, again, shooting was what Mata went looking for. Jamie Kaiser is known to be a shooter. Let's talk about Colby King, who has some Big East experience. Was St. John's. He must have been playing behind Posh 2 years ago. So maybe something rubbed off on him. Again, I'm saying he's not a point guard. You're saying he might have to play point guard.
Mm-hmm.
Talk to me about Colby King.
Yeah, I mean, again, he's a competent scorer, and you're right. If anyone could vouch for Colby, it's Posh. They were teammates together at St. John's. Posh is now going to be on his third school in 3 years. Colby's on his third school in 3 years. So he's experienced, right? I mean, I'm sure that's not ideal, but he has experience in multiple systems. He can score. He can play make a little bit. He could shoot. Again, this is all theoretical. At 6'2", he brings a little bit more size than Posh. But again, Posh is one of the best on-ball defenders, and just the tenacity. It's going to be hard to replace, but if anyone could try to replicate that, it's someone who went up against Posh in practice, for the entire year at St. John. So I mean, he'll have a little bit of kind of insight to that mentality of what a Posh can bring and what Coach Mata likes in his point guards. And yeah, I think Colby will have to play point guard just with, again, the way this roster is set up, unless they were to bring in someone else with more, ball handling experience. But yeah, no, I mean, again, it's all theoretical, but I think he could definitely fill a role next year.
Yeah, he averaged 10.5 points a game last year for Tulane. It was 5th on Tulane, so they must have scored a lot of points. Didn't win a lot, though. Is Ron Hunter still coaching Tulane?
I believe so.
Okay, well, love Ron, so maybe we'll call him and get a scouting report on Colby King. But again, 38% from three, so a very competent three-point shooter. Took a lot of shots from behind the arc. So he will fit if you needed a 2. Again, might be forced to play the 1. The mixture of him and Landon Moore concerns me if I'm honest, as if they're the point guards. But again, it's what you got to go find one. Someone else they've been linked to out of the portal, not a point guard but another shooter, is Duke transfer Jaden Shutt, who's from the Chicago area. There were reports out there, but I think Travis Barnum that Butler is on his list to visit. He already visited Dayton. Looks like Virginia Tech, DePaul, Wisconsin. So are also chasing him. DePaul close to his home. Chris Holtman, Lavelle Jordan also there at DePaul. So but didn't play all last year. Had an injury. played a little bit as a freshman, also just known as a shooter. Do you know anything about where they're at with Jaden Shutt or how he might fit? Again, he's a 2, not a 1. Could be like a 2-3 mix, I guess, but just another shooter. What are your thoughts on where they're at with Jaden Shutt?
Yeah, I don't have any insight into the recruiting or anything like that. But I mean, this Butler team they're not at a place to turn down any talented players. So they could definitely use as much influx of talent as they can get. Again, it seems redundant with all the combo 1-2 guards that they have. I don't know. Again, with 3 spots or maybe 2 or 3 spots left, one should go to a center, the other one should go to a point guard. So that the redundancy there doesn't seem ideal. But hey, if someone with a big recruiting kind of pedigree and can be an influx of talent. So hey, I'm sure they'll take him if he commits. That's for sure.
All right. Well, we're 20 minutes in. We've talked about all the new guys. We've talked about some of the guys that left. We've talked about them having 3, possibly 2. Do we know if there's a timetable for Telfort to make a decision on whether he's going or staying?
I don't. I would imagine it's the deadline for the NBA draft whenever they need to, have his name, or he needs to have his name submitted or pulled out. So, yeah, I would imagine that'd be his ultimate deadline. But the spots fill up quickly, so I'm sure Butler is probably wanting to know what his decision is, and it's very possible they already do know what his decision is and have already added his replacement. So, we'll find out for sure in the near future.
Yeah, his return changes the calculus for me on what this team can do, just because I've seen what he can do. I'm a fan of how he plays, and he kind of slots everyone down a peg in that front court and gives you more flexibility at the 3 if you need it. And then again, some of those guys who are playing the 3 can play the 2 and so on. All right, Akeem. Well, it's been a busy offseason. They're not done yet. We got plenty more. Like you said, you're interviewing the new Butler AD today, Grant Lindecker, later today. So we'll have more of that up on IndyStar.com later this week. Akeem, you got anything else to say before we head on out of here?
No, that's it. I think we've said it all.
Okay. Well, this has been the latest off-season edition of Dawg Talk podcast with Butler insider Akeem Glaspie of the Indianapolis Star. I'm Matt Glenesk. Thank you so much for listening and watching if you watched us on YouTube, because who doesn't want to look at our faces?